This is Unleashing Pandora's Code. We're talking about the dangers of generative AI and cyber threat intelligence. If you are here for Unleashing Hack GPT, you're in the right spot. You're just a little bit early, so no worries about that. I promise when I used ChatGPT to come up with my title, it came up with mine first. So that's why I'm speaking now. Just a few more minutes, and the next presenter will be in for us. But this is exciting. This is my first SAINTCON ever, so I'm super happy to be here, up here on the stage. I'm kind of happy they gave me this big podium to stand behind. It really should hide my the shaking in my knees, so I won't drop while I'm up here. But a little bit about myself. My name's Chandler McClellan. If those pictures do look like they came off of my dating profile, they certainly did. I didn't know how else to represent myself. But I'm a student up at Utah State University in Logan. I'm super glad to see a few other students and friends here today. I study cybersecurity pretty much like everyone else, but I'm also specializing in data analytics and anticipatory intelligence. So it's super nerdy, super fun stuff. By day, I'm a threat intelligence engineer. And by night, I like to be a little ethical hacker kid. And motorcycles. If you take away anything, that's like my personality trait right there. It's the most important thing about me. This is not a shameless plug for my company or anything like this. This just gives context to why I'm speaking on cyber threat intelligence and generative AI. So that's a lot of words. I understand that. It's the most words I'm going to throw up here the whole time. I promise it's not this boring. But it just kind of shows from a recent performance review that I had that at this little company I work for called Perils. It's a startup, so everyone wears lots and lots of hats, right? Everyone's jumping back and forth from project to project. It's the kind of company where it's like, okay, I have 20 different things I need you to get done this week, and I need it done by Friday. That's actually a Slack message I got this morning from my boss, and it's Thursday. So we'll see how things work out. But as an intern, as a cyber threat intelligence research engineer, way too many words, we really get into the nitty-gritty with it. But I'll stick surface level, try and keep things not boring. We've all been through one of those, this is my company, we're super cool PowerPoints. This is not that. So what are the goals here? What are the goals today? I wanna walk everyone through and have everyone have a few just simple takeaways from this. Mostly like, what is all the hype? What is the promise of generative AI and cyber threat intelligence? Why it can be a dangerous thing, why it's a bad idea. And then most importantly, what's that little secret sauce that we're missing out there? What is gonna take it from like, okay, generative AI, it's just a hype thing to this is something we can really use and go places with. So, I totally forgot to start my timer. Big picture. This is, if I had to title this slide, which I forgot to, that would be Cyber Threat Intelligence in 60 seconds. And diving into this, there's a lot of jargon, lots of things they use in the industry, but mostly what I want to focus on is this big center part, right? Boom, and being what they call left of boom, which is before everything hits the fan, hits the floor, and it's a big hot mess that you're talking to your CISO about. So this is a little visual to help you understand kind of like tactic, techniques, procedures, the nitty-gritty of cyber threat intelligence. When you're doing cyber threat intelligence, you're really focused on figuring out how to provide a threat-informed defense for your customer, your own company, your SOC, whoever you're working with. Down here along the bottom, there's a model called the cyber kill chain. It's modeled after Lockheed's kill chain. Yeah, Lockheed made it. It's basically just a pattern of attack. And if at any point along that chain you can interrupt or disrupt the pattern, you are successful in defeating that attack. So that's why we're talking about trying to be left of boom, using threat intelligence, understanding what our adversary is doing, so we can stop them from affecting our organization, ever being able to get control, exploit, whether they're setting up like a C2 server, whether they're trying to blast us, whatever it is. So if none of that made sense to you, I did find a little meme on LinkedIn. It's the best meme place I've got at this point. And I totally won't show it. Hold up. I will learn how to use this on the fly. Maybe not. All right. Imagine a really funny meme about, oh, there we go. I can use a Mac. I don't normally use a Mac. This is just a work computer. But cyber threat intelligence, right? Now, if you missed it, I'll play it one more time for you. Most important part, right there in the middle. See the guy pointing the finger? Yeah, that's cyber threat intelligence in a nutshell. We're like, oh yeah, here it comes, here it comes. You missed it, you got hit in the face. So we're trying to stop that, get everyone back to left of boom. But now we get away from cyber threat intelligence. For the people that don't care, we're gonna do a little story. So a little bit of a myth. If you don't care about cyber threat intelligence, here's a story you can tell your kids, tell yourself, whatever you have to do at night to go to sleep. That's how I cope with stress. So Pandora's box is an ancient myth. It's a Greek myth about Pandora. Daughter of Zeus, she was kind of blessed by all the different gods that all had a little bit of input into her life. But one of her key traits came from her father, and he gave her this burning curiosity, right? Burning desire to understand things. And she was just incredibly smart, figured out everything. But with that burning desire, Zeus thought it was kind of funny to give her this little box, right? Didn't tell her what was in it, but she was just like, here's your box, figure it out. She lived this long, successful life, all the other stuff that goes into the myth as far as like, oh, this is your life. But she could never forget about what was inside that box. Her burning curiosity to open this great box of mysteries, unleash whatever gift was in there from her father, stuck with her throughout her life. So that's Pandora. How does that connect to cyber threat intelligence and generative AI? Well, hopefully we can pull that one off. I'm focusing on generative AI just because that's kind of like the big hype that everyone got into. If we wanted to talk something really important, we'd talk like BERT models and bidirectional, encoder representations from transformers. Basically just like you have like your self-attention heads and they're bidirectionally connected in your neural network transform matrix. That would be really cool. If anyone here has a lot of money they're sitting on, we can go places with that kind of AI in cybersecurity and cyber threat intelligence. But unfortunately, everyone heard about ChatGPT the whole start of the year, got super excited, like, oh, it's gonna change everyone's job. We're all gonna be out of a job soon. It's gonna do cybersecurity for us. But it's just not that good all the time. And this is kind of why we're gonna get into that promise of cybersecurity. So GPT models, it's just your generative pre-trained transformer where like your neural network architecture is just a simple tokenized model. It's an algorithm, it's math, it's nothing too crazy fancy, but it is kind of cool. So yeah, oh, sorry, I'm just about to choke up here. So the promise of generative AI and cyber threat intelligence is threat detection response, right? How fast can we go? How speedy can we get? So being algorithm-based, the idea is let's get a whole bunch of really fast pre-trained models running and pull in all of our data as quick as we can and just go, okay. A human might take, like me, for example, if I'm sitting at work and my boss is like, hey, I need you to get some intel on, pick your favorite Russian threat actor, right? Fancy Bear, they got a cool name, let's go with it. Tell me what you can figure out about them, see what they're up to right now. It might take me a week, it might take me a few weeks to get together all this data, make a report, just from the telemetry we're actively pulling in. The idea with one of these models is, okay, pulls in all the data super quick, and what can it do? It can instantly start building those connections, those patterns, and be like, oh wow, I see what the human takes a long time to see in a relatively short amount of time, right? Super cool. That leads to big changes in response time, right? Instead of being like, okay, here's your intelligence you needed 2 weeks ago, we've got it today, the model gets it in a quick turnaround of time. I'm sure all the big wigs, people with lots of money would be super excited about that, to know what's going and how things are working for them. But it leads to a lot of problems as well. So continuing with the promise, that is the most boring visual you're gonna get this whole presentation, I promise. It only gets worse from there as far as the visuals go, but I did not want to pull up a bunch of data models and bore everyone to death with graphs and anything like that. But this is the idea of what I do in cyber threat intelligence. So TTP clustering, that's your different tactics, techniques, procedures. I don't know if I missed that earlier, but it's kind of like MITRE's, or MITRE is a framework to map this, but it's just, okay, what kind of recon methods are they using to compromise their systems? What kind of exploits are they running? Like the different steps throughout your cyber kill chain. What you do is you take all of that data, whether it's coming from other like cyber threat intelligence reports or from your own telemetry, customers' telemetry, whatever you're working with, And you start putting them into huge multiplanar cortexes, essentially. So if any of you are linear algebra nuts, it's kind of like you have infinite space, infinite R space. Like, you're not just working in 2D, 3D, anything like that. You have virtually any point in space constricted by your different points of data, whether it's this kind of tactic, this kind of technique, this kind of procedure. You tie them all together with a bunch of different regression models. And when you do that, you can start building all these lines, all these pretty looking clusters. You can do all your statistical analysis and see how close they are together, right? That's what we try to do when we're building out threat reports and assessments. What the computer would do, hopefully do it way quicker, is be able to just match what human intuition is, where you kind of get that hunch like, okay, I'm starting to get the feeling that this threat actor is going to start moving to this next phase of the kill chain, and this is probably what they're going to do, based on the history that we know about, say, Russian hackers again, right? Everyone's favorite. This is normally how they move and how they progress through their playbook. Generative AI, hopefully, would be able to run through that, right? That's the big promise. Like, oh, they'll do it, and they will do it super fast. They will kill it. They'll knock it out of the park. And then even more exciting over there is campaign prediction. So being able to say, all right, here's a few indicators we're pulling in from telemetry. Maybe it's not even someone we know. Maybe it's a little tiny cluster of something, and they put it together and say, all right, I think this is a new threat actor group, however you want to define your campaign, whether it's intrusion set or threat actor specific infrastructure, however you define your threat vector and you're trying to analyze who's coming after you. Hopefully, generative AI would do it much, much more efficiently and quicker and be able to predict that faster than a human would. Go, hey, I see this. This is big. This is important, right? So you have all these huge promises surrounding cyber threat intelligence and where it's going and how it's important. But then you also have everything that comes with it. So we have a bunch of the dangers. Going back to our little story we're telling for our kids or ourselves. Pandora and Pandora's box, she got to the point in her life, even though everything else was going great, she just decided to open it, right? Had that burning curiosity and could not get away from it. And as the myth goes, as the story goes, she opens the box, and all of the evils of the world, all of the monsters, miseries, whether it's poverty, war, sorrow, sickness, famine, death, anything, everything evil pretty much just flies out of the box as Zeus's way to kind of get back at humanity, right? This is the lady that was supposed to get back at humanity for stealing fire, or having Prometheus steal fire. Anyways, nerdy stuff aside, she lets her curiosity get the best of her, and she unleashes the evil and the dangers of something that she didn't understand. Kind of like me trying to use generative AI for the project that I worked on for work. I opened this thing up, I didn't know what I was getting into, but as time went on and I kept getting asked, okay, will you see if you can make this happen? Will you be able to change X, Y, and Z using generative AI? Because everybody wanted to see what it could do. There's a lot of barriers I ran into. So false alarms, super easy, super obvious. Like, what if this AI, this chat model in specific, or a different, whatever LLM or what is it called, model you're using for this analysis, what if they start making false alarms, right? What if they walk into the library and scream fire and there's no fire? Well, you're going to start building a lot of campaign data that you're using in your threat intelligence repo that is not accurate. That you're saying, okay, I'm pretty sure we're seeing the Russians use this brand new tactic, this brand new 0-day we've never seen before, and it's just not true. But if you're using that data as if it's a factual assessment, you're going to really start leading people astray. We also have problems like data privacy, right? If you are pulling telemetry from one of your customers, or even if it's your own organization and you're doing your own cyber threat intelligence work, what happens when you're trying to upload, okay, I'm starting to see some of these indicators on my own system. Let's put it into the cluster, let's put it into the data and see what connections it can make, if it can figure out who's targeting me, what it's doing. Well, if somebody can pop that open, get access, you're just building another attack vector for an adversary to understand your own network, or more importantly, in the case of like our company, when we work with big corporations, we have data on, oh, these are where they're vulnerable. This is how you can target them best. Adversarial attacks, that's just like data poisoning. I mean, if you're aggregating a bunch of telemetry from across the world of different problems and different people, from other cyber threat intelligence researchers, you're going to end up having the possibility for somebody to be poisoning your model by feeding you like false indicators. You're looking for a smoking gun when you're not even in the right place. So, oh man, I really should have put a picture on that slide. That was going to be a great visual explaining resource constraints and explainability challenges. That's probably an explainability challenge itself, but resource constraints, I mean, if you're training your own model, super hard unless you're running with a different kind, but in generative AI, like that's one of the biggest overheads they face is how do we get enough data into this, make it reliable, make it work, but also not just be boring, right? They have to have it go somewhere. So resource constraints are a huge problem on the cost and time vector, which nobody in the C-suite likes to hear those words, right? Horrible. But the faster you can get your algo running, the better you're off. And then our second explainability challenge, let's say your model comes up with something. How are you going to explain that? Like, besides just being like, well, the model says so, like, I'm pretty sure we're about to get hit. I mean, where do you back that up? I mean, you can output a little bit of data, right? And be like, oh, this is the connection the model made. This is how it jumped from A to B to C. But without having really done the work yourself, it's kind of hard to be like, okay, I've got a mystical fortune teller that's going to tell you exactly when you get hit, how you're going to get hit, and who's coming for you. If it worked, dude, that would be amazing. Like, that would be a multi-million-dollar tool. I'm pretty sure every company would love to know that. But you just, yeah, it can't. There's these lovely things called hallucinations, and sometimes it's very sure it knows something is right, and it is very, very wrong. So, tying everything together here for us, I told you the visuals were just going to get worse. These ones are actually AI generated, believe it or not. They did a great job. Pandora's box and AI, you can tell like there's a bunch of monsters coming out. I love that they put a Dementor in there. Apparently that is one of the evils of the world. Demogorgon, my stepmom, is crazy. Big fan of Dolly, all right? But how do we tie it all together? How do we connect the myth of opening Pandora's box, unleashing something you don't understand, and unleashing AI in a way that I mean, you're going to come into a lot of issues with GRC, dependability, reliability, whatever it is. I don't know. Honestly, it's just a story. But moving past that, I promise you guys a missing element for this. And what is the missing element between cyber threat intelligence and generative AI? If you pay attention to this slide, it's actually not a surprising amount of trigonometry or the unit circle. That's big news, but it's actually humans. Humans are the missing element in cyber threat intelligence. We need to bridge that gap between super efficient models that can help us in our work, but also being able to be like, okay, this is me, I'm responsible, this is the work that we've done. We need human eyes to make sure that we're not running into any of those dangers that we had. It's super important for us. I guess to kind of give a couple examples of that, we'll hop into a couple case studies from work. The whole reason I wrote this talk is actually I got stuck being the new guy with many hats, new guy on the team. They're like, okay, you go figure out generative AI, right? ChatGPT, you've got this. Figure out how it all works together. Figure out how to make us millions of dollars, and we'll all be happy and successful. Summaries and extraction. Those are two good examples of how generative AI hype was here. Output was just down here. Like, could have done it better, should have done it better, but we tried anyways. Summaries. So when you're doing cyber threat intelligence, it's super helpful for somebody that doesn't care about cyber threat intelligence to provide them with just, this is what you need to know, right? Nobody wants to get a huge long report and be reading like 6 pages of some PDF on whatever group. They want the here, the now. This is how I'm getting hurt. This is your threat actor. This is your victim. Let's do some edge analysis between their infrastructure and capability. Tell me what I need to know, right? Coming at this from a work perspective, I tried using ChatGPT, right? And to its credit, it did a really good job from the data it was given to piece together stories, right? I mean, every week as you're studying an active threat actor, there's new reports that come out, there's new reports that you're building yourself, and you kind of want to put them all together into this big story, right? This saga of the great Russian hacker group, Fancy Bear or Cozy Bear. Pick your favorite. And you want to kind of describe what they're doing so a customer or your own people know what they're working with, know what to look out for. So summaries, super important. It can kind of do it, but it also goes crazy sometimes. Sometimes it's telling you stories you've never heard of, and they're fantastic. They're wild. They're just as good as Pandora's box, right? A great myth, but they're nowhere near reality. They're quite fictional. Extraction, that was a nightmare in itself. There's a bunch of tools that we use. I built a tool that, for example, you just put in like a PDF or any threat report from somebody else, and it just like hard matches, like, okay, here's different tactics, techniques, procedures, threat actor groups, whoever it is, puts together and just gives you like a good sense of like, is this a report that's worth reading today to start building out this intelligence report? And doing that, like hardcore programming, super easy, right? You're not gonna go crazy. You're gonna be like, okay, these reports are good. They have valuable data. We should use this in our cyber threat intelligence work. ChatGPT, we ran the same tests with this thing and see if it could even just match like simple output. It was horrible. It was making up tactics. It'd be like, dude, today we saw the Russians use this 0 day and it was crazy. This is what it did. And you'd look at that and you're like, that doesn't exist. I mean, that 0 day exists out there, sure. You can go crawling on fun parts of the internet and go shopping. So you can have data on that, but it thinks it sees things that aren't really there. So super big problem to be running into where you're looking at, you're chasing ghosts, you're chasing phantoms. So from work alone, I've vetted a few times that it's not quite there. So I guess in summary, here's your key takeaways. For anybody that fell asleep in the back, I'm sorry. I should have put more memes and videos in here. That's my fault. Your key takeaway number one is cyber threat intelligence, right? CTI work, super important. We are the big finger pointers. We tell you, there's the threat, go get it, hopefully before we hit boom, right? We don't want to be in the situation where we're trying to do repair and work on our resilience. We'd much rather be preemptively preventing catastrophe. So cyber threat intelligence, super important. Job security, check. Pandora's box, for anybody that doesn't care about cyber threat intelligence, you got a cute little story you can tell somebody about. Tell them about the myth. And then finally, humans are important. Whatever cyber-related work, cyberspace you find yourself in, at the end of the day, we have a lot of amazing tools we can use to augment the work that we do, but we need ourselves and we need our team to be able to be at our peak efficiency. So super important to have that hands-on, that second opinion. With that, that's mostly my presentation. Here's a QR code. If anybody has questions for me about anticipatory intelligence, data analytics stuff, I'd love to get into it. If you're curious about cyber threat intelligence, I kind of geek out on that a lot. I try to not go into a lot of depth here on what I think, what I believe, but you can scan that. I promise it's not a Rickroll. It's not some 0 day exploit. I do not have the money to afford that yet. Working on it. And motorcycles. That's who I am. So with that, I'm super grateful to be here. I love SAINTCON. This has been a crazy positive experience for me. It kind of feels like home. There's just a bunch of nerdy folks all together, and I love it. So I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful for this community. Everyone's super helpful when I walk around and try and figure out what's going on or how to solder something, wherever it might be. Everyone here is awesome. One more shameless plug, I guess. At the university, I work with a lot of really great, really motivated students that are in cybersecurity, kind of like that next generation that are coming out. And with the professionals here in this room, a lot of us Utah-based, they're looking to stay in Utah. They love cybersecurity, and this is where they call home. So I want to connect those students with this community. I'm super impressed by SAINTCON and the people here. So if you have any interest in working with the students, helping mentor them, or otherwise connecting, just let me know. I mean, shoot me a message, come find me afterwards. And I think I have a few more minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, I will take my best guess, my best shot at answering any of those at this time. Yeah.
Have you already encountered in the course of your work on the adversary or threat actor side, someone or a group that is trying to leverage the antithesis of this kind of resource?
Yes. So the question was, In my work, in my experience, have I seen a group or groups trying to use, I'm presuming just generative AI in general, to accomplish whatever their goal is. And there are quite a few different groups that use it to varying success. I mean, there's a lot of foreign-speaking groups, wherever they're located from, that are using ChatGPT, for example, to try and proofread, fix their phishing email. There's a lot of groups actually here at home. We were studying one just a little bit ago that used HackGPT, funny enough, the next presentation, to quite a bit of success. A bunch of kids made a whole lot of money very quickly. So yes, it is being used. It is only as effective as you can make it. And they try and build a whole bunch of parameters into your different AI models so they can't produce malicious code or malicious strategies, but there's always a way to jailbreak it, prompt engineer, get around it. Cool. Any other questions? Totally.
As far as gauging sophistication goes, do you feel like at this point they're ahead of the curve when compared to those threat actors, or are they?
Cyber threat intelligence, or?
Well, they're leveraging the technology.
Yeah, so if I understood the question, gauging different threat actor groups, APTs, are they ahead of the curve when they use this technology versus those who are without? What's the capability? Honestly, if it's a big enough group that people are noticing them, people are tracking them actively, they have capability far beyond what a simple large language model can produce for them. For somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing, it can bolster them and help them out. But I see a lot of groups already have their set ways, their set attack plans, their manuals for, okay, this is our strategy for how we're going to carry out our goal, whether it's espionage or cybercrime, ransomware game, whatever it is, they already kind of have that groove, and they work as an organization that we're tracking. Awesome. All right. I think that's probably enough questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to come find me at the back or shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Thank you guys for your time.